today's episode of Vital, Vivacious, and Visible, and I have a real surprise treat for you. My guest today is Susan Street of 50 Not Frumpy, and
Okay.
and here she is today. And aren't you glorious? So from frumpy to fabulous. So thank you so much for joining me. And I love your Facebook page and your website. And I love the fact that you are such an inspiration. And I'd like you to just talk a little bit about how you went, what this transition was like, because you were, what was it, 40 pounds heavier or something like that?
About 45 pounds heavier. It was about 5 years ago. I had lots of health problems and lots
Oh,
of issues that were causing me to have tremendous amount of pain from arthritis, my hands and my feet. I couldn't make jewelry anymore. I couldn't wear the heels I love anymore. I thought that was my destiny. I thought that was the way life was going to be. And I was bloated and just not happy. My body was way off from where I wanted to be. And so I started to do some research and I read this book called Eat to Live, which is written by Dr. Joel Furman. And he talks about food and nutrition and why nutrition serves us or defeats us. And if we eat meat, which he's a proponent of not eating meat, but processed food, I think, is the ultimate evil. Most of our bodies cannot process it. So we store it, and it causes negative reactions in our bodies, such as heart disease, um, cancer,
mm,
stress, and obesity. And all of those things are connected to, of course, our health. And so when I stopped eating the processed food, it was amazing because the weight started coming off, and my health started to return. And my results now, when I go to the doctor, she tells me that my results are that of a teenager.
I
So
love it.
I can wear my high heels again. And I don't take any medication, and I'm 5 years older than I was when I started this process, and people tell me I look younger now. So I'm sort of on a mission to prove to people that health is very important. You can't exercise away a bad diet. So if you are eating the correct foods and nourishing your body will respond to that. And I feel like I'm an example of that.
Absolutely. That's so great. And you're a vegetarian now, I understand.
Yes, I'm a vegetarian. I'm almost a vegan. Every once in a while, I'll have a bit of yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, or maybe a tiny piece of cheese. I guess I'm Italian at heart, but I love cheese. And so I'll just have a very small portion. It doesn't mean that you give up all the things you love. It just means in moderation, very small amounts. Every once in a great while, I'll have a piece of free range chicken, maybe a pasta with a bit of chicken in it, or maybe a piece of shrimp, but very small. On a regular, I would say 90% of the time, I eat raw fruits and vegetables, and my protein, it's a porridge, a power porridge that I made up, and it's on the blog on 50notfrumpy.com under Live Well. All the recipes, it shows most of the food I eat. So I eat seasonally, fresh, and organic. So it's always changing. Whatever I see when I go to the grocery store that looks fresh and healthy and appealing to me, that's what I get, and that's what I have for 2 or 3 days. Then I go back and get whatever else is appealing.
Preach, girl, because you're saying everything I agree with.
Yes, definitely. I've lived it, so I believe it wholeheartedly.
And you're a beautiful example of what it can mean to live healthfully.
Thank you.
And um, and I'm glad you mentioned that the recipes are up on the website because I used to love when you would post some of those pictures of your of what you're eating. I know people give people a hard time for posting on their food on Facebook, but I actually love it.
Well, it's good to have someone who's speaking from firsthand experience, who's telling you this is really tasty and it's really good for you. People think that eating for entertainment is where it's at. They eat for the joy of the taste, the texture, rather than thinking about what is nutrition for your body and for your health. It builds your immune system. It helps you to be what you want in life. So it's a trade-off. It's what you want. And if you want to have pizza every night, then you're going to have all the problems that go along with it.
That's wonderful. So it takes a lot of perseverance and discipline to do this. I'm sure because the rewards were so great for you, I'm sure it made it all worthwhile. But what what kind of internal challenges did you have to just stick with it? Because if you had been eating a certain way and living a certain way for decades, what was it that tipped the scales? Was it your health?
Actually, no. When I started dating Mickey, the man that I speak
Yeah.
of very often on the website, he was so happy for us to be a couple, and he wanted to entertain me. So he was literally taking me out to dinner almost every night, and I was eating how I was unaccustomed to eating rich foods and having a glass of wine and having a dessert almost every night, and just being entertained. And it was having its effect on me. And finally, I convinced him after he had a stroke and was in
Oh,
intensive care for 5 days. We finally started realizing that there was a connection between the food and our health and our issues that we were having. And so he actually brought the book to me and introduced the way of eating to me. And I had been an avid sports person. I loved to hike and kayak and swim. And I went to the gym 2 times a day. And I used to run 5 miles a day. And that was my life prior to starting working so much. When my business took off and I started being much more locked into sitting in front of my computer and doing work for many hours a day. That's when my weight started to climb and my life,
mm,
my health started to change.
right.
So when I turned it around, and it isn't that I exercise a whole lot. I do go for a walk when the weather allows for about 3 miles at a good pace, and I do a little bit of yoga and Pilates. But it isn't exercise that keeps the weight off. It's what you eat.
Mm. So great. And it's helpful to have a partner or
Yes,
to
definitely.
reflect that back and encourage each other.
Yes,
So that's so great. And I do want to remind people that you are the president of uh, a, a jewelry. Describe your company.
I own Vintage Jewelry Supplies Company. We
Jewelry
have more
supply.
than, yes, we have more than 5,000 items. I have a warehouse. It's not a store that's open to the public. And we service designers, jewelry designers, costume designers, all types of artisans from all over the world.
Good.
And we ship out every day. And I have a teaching website, filigreebeading.com. I was a designer for 10 years, and I share all the things that I learned in being in the industry for that long. But as I do with 50 Not Frumpy, when I find something that works well for me, I don't mind sharing it. And people tell me all the time, I can't believe you give all of this information away. Why don't you have a website and charge people for it? And I just feel like it's very important that you give back. It always
Yes,
comes back to you.
that's right. And you have such a generous website. I just appreciate it so much. And I think that your background in jewelry and design has informed that beautiful eye that you have for the way you dress yourself. I was looking at your blog today about mixing unrelated pieces, and so let's talk a little fashion right now, because it's just such a pleasure to see what you come up with every day. Um, the you have a wonderful way of combining modern and classic pieces. And you also have a really great understanding of proportion and balance. So, talk a little bit about how you put an outfit together when you're getting dressed.
I usually sometimes starts with the shoes. So that will determine what style of pant I'm going to wear, or if I'm going to wear, I usually wear pants. I'm more comfortable in those.
Me too.
But then the weather is the determining factor of what type of shoes I'm going to wear. If it's falling weather, if it's wet outside, I'm not going to wear suede, and usually don't wear my nicer shoes. I have some that serve the purpose, but they're not the best. So that will set the stage, and then I build from there. And it just, whatever mood I'm in and whatever the weather is that day. Or maybe I have something new that I want to incorporate it in the blog to show someone, because when I get something that's new, I want to show it on the blog quickly, because a lot of people want to know, where did you get that? So I want them to have the chance to buy it, especially if maybe it's on sale right now, because then they can get the same opportunity to buy it. Because I feel kind of guilty when I show something and a lot of people say, "Oh, I love that." Like, I bought it 5 years ago. I'm sorry. So
That's fine.
I do want to share it when they have the opportunity to buy it if they're interested.
That's so great. And I know that you do a lot of sort of modeling for Perfectly Covered, which has some really beautiful pieces at very reasonable prices.
Very reasonable prices. It's coveredperfectly.com. And the woman who owns the company is Pauline, and she's lovely. And she started the company because she couldn't find what she was looking for in the industry. And she said, I'll just make my own. And
Good for
it's
her.
become very, very popular. She has a great selection of tops and a few skirts, but she's learning to stay with what works and what people are buying the most of, so she can focus all of her energy on that. And she does have some beautiful pieces. And she flies me out to California a couple times a year so that I can model the line. And it's a wonderful experience. And I get to work with professional models and pretend to be an actual model for a while. It's been a really good experience for me.
There's no pretending. You are an actual model and a wonderful model. And just one thing, a couple of things about Covered Perfectly. I love the fact that they show colors. You know, so many times and a variety of colors and a variety of necklines because we're all different. And
Absolutely.
anyway, just a little plug for them because I think they're great.
Yes.
But you know, this has opened up a whole new world for you. So, and you're flying to
Absolutely.
California. So, what does it feel like to uh, move onto a set and model something as a mature woman? There are some other younger women in the group. What is that like for you at this stage in your life?
It is very interesting. I have modeled on and off for most of my life, but it is strange to be the oldest person on set. I just learned that I just need to stand back and watch and be gracious and do what is expected of me when I'm expected to show up and do the best I can. So um, it's in it's good for my soul to be involved in this project. I enjoy it very much.
And I bet Mr. Mickey really is proud of you.
He is. He's very proud. I have gotten several different opportunities to do public speaking, and that's been a real experience because it's my life has really taken a change completely. When I first met him, I hadn't been on a date in 2 years. All I did was work. I
Hmm.
spent most of my time alone. I wore the typical sweatpants and jeans and didn't care what I looked like. And everything has changed so much. So that's one of the reasons I started the blog. I wanted to say it doesn't matter if you're getting older and if your body's changing, you can still have a wonderful, full life. And you just have to polish yourself just a little bit and go out there and have fun.
Were there any sort of emotional changes that you needed to go to transition into this new phase of putting yourself out there in a very public way?
Yes, after being isolated and sort of a loner for so long, it was difficult to adjust to being around people all the time and having people come up and talk to me. And I frequently have people that follow the blog and they walk up to me and visit with me, and it's wonderful. But at first, it was an adjustment because I wasn't used to that. And I have people calling me, there's an appointment about once a week, let's say, that somebody wants me to give a talk, or, of course, I'm doing blogs and photo shoots constantly. So that's a big difference. And it does take some adjusting because I am by nature sort of a loner. So I've had to adjust my way of thinking and fake it until you make it. Just get out there and greet people and try to feel comfortable with it because I was very self-conscious at first, but I'm getting the hang of it.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is a message that is going to resonate profoundly with a lot of the people watching this. Um, let's see. Let's get a little specific before we close because I love for people to have something to take away. Talk about mixing unrelated pieces because that was something that you mentioned on the blog today.
I take my inspiration from younger women. I look at the street style pictures on Pinterest. There's a few women like Emmanuel Alt, who is the editor of Paris Vogue.
Uh-huh.
She has a wonderful sort of masculine,
Yes, she's
feminine
great.
style. Yes. And I take a lot of inspiration from her. And I was amazed when I looked at some of those pictures of her. I thought, well, I have pieces like that. I just have never been confident in mixing and matching in that way. So once I studied those photographs of people who are so successful in mixing and matching, it just sort of clicked. And now I think you develop an eye. Once you do this over and over, you just think, okay, this will work with this. And if you use a lot of basic pieces, and I have a lot of classic pieces,
Me too.
and just throw in something trendy, one piece once in a while. Sometimes I see people in their head to toe trends, and I'm like, okay, you really know what's going on, but it doesn't resonate with me. I'd rather have just one piece that is
Yeah.
a trend, and then from there, you know, go stay with my classics.
Yeah. I think it's a really valuable thing as we get older to have some really high quality classic pieces because it just pulls everything together.
It does. It's
Well,
almost a foolproof way to get dressed.
this has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, you just hit all the great points that I want so many women our age to understand. Is there anything you want to close with or inspire people toward?
Never underestimate the power of eating the right foods. And it isn't worth the taste of something that you know isn't good for you, cheeseburger or pizza or whatever it is. If it comes in a bag, a box, or a can, it's probably going to be detrimental to your health. Anything that has a commercial, I avoid. So I try to eat the foods that my great grandmother would recognize and probably grew in her garden. And I think if we follow that rule, about 90% of the time, our health will be so much better.
Amen. Susan Street of 50 Not Frumpy. And uh, well, that's the website and the Facebook page. I want to encourage you all to check out all the wonderful things that she has. And I want to thank you so very much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
Bye bye.